The rain poured relentlessly that night, drumming against the tin roof of the small café where Emma sat alone, staring blankly at her reflection in the window. The storm outside mirrored the one inside her heart, one that had been brewing for months. She clutched the letter in her trembling hands, the ink slightly smudged by her tears. It was short, cold, and final. "Emma, I can't do this anymore. I can't live with someone who keeps failing. I'm filing for divorce." Her husband's signature sat at the bottom like a dagger through her chest. Just 5 years earlier, their story had been something out of a fairy tale. Emma and Ryan had met at a charity gala where she volunteered as a coordinator. He was charming, confident, and ambitious, a young marketing executive with dreams as big as hers. Emma, though raised in a modest family, had a heart full of determination and a mind built for business. She dreamed of opening her own organic skincare line, one that combined her grandmother's herbal recipes with modern science. Ryan had been her biggest supporter back then. He'd helped her design the first logo, built the website, and even stayed up nights packing orders by hand. Together, they dreamed of a life where success would be shared, every triumph, every setback, every sleepless night. But dreams are fragile things when tested by reality. The first blow came when Emma's manufacturer went bankrupt, delaying production for 6 months. Then a major investor pulled out, claiming her business was too small to scale. Soon after, competitors flooded the market with cheaper products, leaving her struggling to keep up. She poured everything she had, money, time, and energy, into saving her business. She even sold her car to pay her employees. But in the process, she lost something far more precious, Ryan's support. At first, he was patient. But patience, too, has an expiration date. "You're obsessed, Emma," he snapped one night as she worked past midnight. "You're never home. You never smile anymore. What's the point of all this if it's tearing us apart?" She looked up, exhausted but hopeful. "I'm doing this for us, Ryan. Just give me more time." But the more she fought for her dream, the more he drifted away. His words turned sharper, his presence colder. When the final investor backed out and her company officially went under, Ryan didn't offer comfort. He offered conditions. Sell the remaining assets. Get a normal job. Start over, something realistic. Emma's heart broke. Not because her business had failed, but because her husband had stopped believing in her. When Ryan walked out, he took more than their shared apartment, he took her faith and love. She didn't beg. She didn't plead. She simply signed the papers and let him go, even as her world crumbled. Her friends told her she'd bounce back. Her parents reminded her she was strong. But Emma didn't feel strong. For months, she lived quietly, scraping by with part-time work while trying to rebuild herself from the ashes of her broken dreams. And then one evening, fate knocked on her door, in the form of a letter from an attorney. It was from her late grandmother's estate. A woman Emma had loved deeply but never truly understood. Her grandmother had been humble, kind, and endlessly supportive. What Emma didn't know was that the woman had been a silent investor in multiple biotech companies, and one of those had just been acquired for an astonishing $600 million. Her grandmother's share, a little over $100 million, all of it left to Emma. At first, Emma didn't know what to do. The inheritance didn't feel real. She wasn't the kind of person to live lavishly or flaunt wealth. But for the first time in her life, she had the freedom to rebuild her dream, not from desperation, but from strength. She founded Eterna Botanicals, a luxury skincare line inspired by the same herbal recipes she'd once failed to bring to life. But this time, she had the resources, connections, and wisdom to do it right. She didn't rush. She assembled a small team, hired women from struggling backgrounds, and focused on sustainability and authenticity, values her grandmother had lived by. Within 2 years, Eterna Botanicals exploded in popularity. Celebrities endorsed it, magazines featured her story, and her products sold out within hours of restocking. Emma became a symbol of resilience, a woman who had turned heartbreak into purpose. But she never told anyone about Ryan. Not the betrayal, not the divorce, not the pain. She left that chapter behind, or so she thought. 3 years later, Emma attended a high-profile business conference in New York. She stood on stage, radiant and composed, delivering a keynote speech on turning failure into fuel. Her words echoed through the hall, powerful, raw, and deeply human. As she stepped down, a familiar voice stopped her in her tracks. Emma. She froze. The voice hadn't changed. Ryan stood there, dressed sharply, though the confidence in his eyes had dulled. For a moment, the years melted away. Ryan, she said calmly. It's been a long time. He smiled awkwardly. Yeah, I saw your name on the program. Couldn't believe it was you. You look incredible. Thank you, she replied, her tone polite but distant. He cleared his throat. I heard about your company. Eterna Botanicals, right. It's everywhere. I'm in marketing still, but things haven't been great. The agency downsized, and, I've been freelancing. Emma listened quietly. He seemed smaller somehow, not physically, but in presence. I've thought about you a lot, he admitted, his voice low. I was stupid, Emma. I gave up when I should have stood by you. I didn't know you'd make it this far. Emma smiled sadly. You didn't believe I could. That's the difference. He tried to meet her gaze, but the weight of his regret hung heavy. Is there any chance we could start over? Maybe get dinner. Talk. She took a deep breath. Ryan, I'm not angry anymore. You taught me something important, that love without faith isn't love at all. I don't hate you, but I've moved on. There was silence between them, thick with everything unsaid. Then she turned and walked away, her heels clicking against the marble floor like echoes of her newfound strength. That night, as Emma stood by her penthouse window overlooking the city lights, she thought about the girl she once was, scared, heartbroken, and lost. She smiled softly. That version of her had died the day Ryan left. And in her place, a new woman was born, one who didn't need validation to believe in her worth. She had built her empire from the ruins of rejection, proving that sometimes life breaks us so we can rebuild stronger. A few weeks later, Emma received a letter in the mail, this time from Ryan. It was long, apologetic, full of remorse. He'd written that seeing her succeed had made him realize how small his dreams had been compared to hers. He wished her happiness, even if it wasn't with him. Emma folded the letter gently and placed it in a drawer. She didn't reply, not out of anger, but closure. Her story wasn't about revenge. It was about rebirth. The message. Months later, Emma was invited to speak at a women's empowerment event. The audience was full of young entrepreneurs, mothers, and dreamers who'd faced rejection, heartbreak, and loss. She stood before them, her voice calm yet commanding. When I lost everything, she said, I thought failure was the end of my story. But it wasn't. It was the beginning of a better one. Sometimes, the people who walk away from you aren't villains, they're teachers. They show you what you're capable of when you have no one left to believe in you but yourself. The room was silent, many wiping away tears. Don't ever let someone's doubt define your destiny, Emma continued. Your worth isn't measured by your failures, your wealth, or who stands beside you. It's measured by your will to keep standing when everything else falls apart. As the applause thundered through the hall, Emma felt a deep peace settle within her. She had been the woman who lost it all. She had been the wife who was abandoned. But now, she was something greater, proof that sometimes heartbreak isn't the end of love, but the beginning of self-love. And somewhere, in another part of the city, Ryan saw her interview on television. He smiled faintly, his eyes filled with both pride and regret. He had divorced a poor woman, but in truth, he had let go of someone priceless. Moral of the story: never measure someone's worth by their circumstances. Success may falter, love may fade, but faith in oneself can rebuild empires. Sometimes, losing everything, and everyone, is the only way to discover the power you've had all along.